Let's get started with our first news. Kaio Baralio offers to step in and fight Kamzach Chimayv. Following reports that Drizz Duples has been sidelined due to an injury, Kaio Baralio has been pushing hard for a fight with Kamzach Chimayv. The original plan was for Chimayv to challenge the middleweight champion at UFC 317 during International Fight Week, but with Duples now out of action, the UFC is left scrambling for a replacement. Veteran reporter Kevin Iole has confirmed the news, stating that Duples won't be able to compete due to the injury, leaving a gap in one of the year's most anticipated matchups. Baralio, always eager for a challenge, wasted no time in offering to step in. He took to social media, posting a message that read, "I know a guy, UFC, you know who to call. All respect my brother, but I know a guy. Let's give this show to the fans." The message was clear. Baralio is ready and willing to take on Kamzach, and he's putting it out there for the UFC to make it happen. But things quickly heated up when Kamzach Chimayv responded with an image showing him lifting Baralio during one of their old training sessions. The image was likely intended to remind Baralio of their past sparring, but Baralio wasn't backing down. He quickly replied, "This time is real, my brother. No more helping to fight Nate. Just real fight now. Let's do it, me versus you for the interim middleweight belt." Baralio's confidence was unmistakable, but this back and forth wasn't over. The Brazilian fighter posted another video on Instagram calling out Chimayv directly. "So I think you all heard the news. I heard that Drizz Duples is hurt for a period of time, so I know a guy that never says no to any fight. Dana, Hunter, you know who to call. I'm waiting." Chimayv wasted no time in firing back in the comments. "If we will fight 100 times, you will never win. If somebody knows you, you know that, bro." Baralio, however, wasn't intimidated. He responded with the following fiery comeback: "If you say so, sign the contract and we will see." The heat between the two continued to rise, with Chimayv then posting a screenshot of an old training session where he had submitted Baralio. It seemed like Chimayv was trying to assert dominance, but Baralio wasn't backing down. Instead, Baralio responded confidently, claiming that Chimayv had already agreed to the matchup and said, "Kamzach said yes, the only thing that makes sense is the interim belt. This fight is going to be bigger than him versus Drizz. Mark my words." So now the question is, could the UFC actually be considering this fight? Baralio is undoubtedly one of the fastest rising stars in the middleweight division, boasting a perfect 7-0 record since joining the UFC in 2022. But the UFC also has other contenders in line, including the highly ranked Nasruddin Imavov. If an interim title fight is in the works, will Baralio get the call, or will the UFC opt for Imavov as the challenger? What do you think? Could Baralio take on Chimayv for the interim middleweight title, or is he biting off more than he can chew? Let us know your thoughts on this exciting potential matchup. Let's move on to our second news. Drizz Duples fires back at Kamzach Chimayv. It didn't take long for Drizz Duples to see the comments circulating after Kamzach Chimayv's remarks, and as expected, he wasn't going to stay silent. Duples quickly fired back, comparing their recent canceled fights and using the opportunity to throw some shade at Chimayv's record over the past couple of years. Drizz took to Twitter to respond, posting, "Let's take a look at the last 2.5 years and tell me who's." He then shared a graphic that showed himself with 0 canceled fights in the past 2.5 years, while Chimayv had 3 canceled bouts within the same time frame. It was a bold move by Duples to highlight Chimayv's recent struggles with fight cancellations, especially after Chimayv had previously mocked Duples for his own past fight delays. The comparison was clearly aimed at discrediting Chimayv's claims and suggesting that the hype around him may be a little exaggerated. Of course, a fan couldn't resist jumping in and replying to Duples with a little jab. "Nice try at a comeback, but you spoke too soon when making fun of his pullouts earlier. Has karma had its way with you?" Drizz didn't waste time with the criticism and responded sharply, "Question is, was the fight signed?" This response was a direct shot at Chimayv's canceled bouts, suggesting that Duples had never officially been booked against Chimayv, unlike the cases where Chimayv's own fights fell through. Duples was making it clear that he wasn't the one at fault for any scheduling mishaps. Not long after, another fan jumped in, questioning the omission of Duples' own canceled fight with Israel Adesanya from the conversation. "Why doesn't it show your first canceled fight with Izzy?" Dricus wasted no time clarifying the situation, providing a confident rebuttal that was never signed. With that, Duplessis shut down the argument, asserting that the fight with Adesanya was never finalized in the first place, so it didn't belong in the discussion about canceled bouts. Now, the question remains, should the UFC rebook Duplessis versus Chimaev later this year, or should they go in a different direction? With Duplessis seemingly on the mend and Chimaev ready to take on new challenges, fans are torn. Some are eager to see the two finally square off, while others want to see Chimaev face Kaio Baralio during International Fight Week. What do you think? Should Chimaev and Duplessis finally settle their differences in the cage? Or should Baralio get his shot at Chimaev first? Let us know your thoughts. Now let's jump into another clash. Balal Muhammad fires back at little man Ilia Taporia. Balal Muhammad is not happy with Ilia Taporia's recent comments on Joe Rogan's podcast, where the lightweight fighter took a subtle dig at Balal while discussing the difference between fighters who prioritize entertaining bouts and those who focus on dominant performances. During the podcast, Rogan jokingly said, "You don't have to be Balal, right?" And they shared a laugh. But Balal wasn't laughing. In an interview with MMA Junkie's Farah Hanoun, Balal fired back, clearly upset about the dig. "I think he got like little man syndrome," Balal said. "He's just trying to puff his chest out, acting like he's bigger than he actually is. He's not even good at trash talking, not good at talking in general. He's just trying to play a character." Balal wasn't done there. He went on to explain how the beef started and how he felt about Toporia's approach. According to Balal, it all started when he was asked about a potential fight between Islam Makachev and Ilia Taporia. Balal stated, "Islam's a lot bigger, and I think it's a bad matchup for Toporia," which led him to caution Toporia about the dangers of trash talk in the world of top fighters. Balal even told him, "Be careful with your trash talk. These guys don't play that game." But instead of taking the advice, Toporia fired back with a personal attack. "You're not a real champion. You suck this and that," Toporia reportedly said. Balal, not one to back down, decided to escalate things further, stating, "Okay, if you want beef, I'll give you beef. I'm not afraid to talk. You chirp at me, I'm going to clap right back." Balal also took aim at Toporia's weight class, noting that the Georgian fighter is 2 weight classes below him. "You're 2 weight classes below me," Balal pointed out. "Nothing is going to come from this. But if you want to keep talking, let's go. He needs to earn it. Fight AA, fight Justin, maybe even fight Paddy. Show the fans you're a lightweight." Balal made sure to emphasize that Toporia should prove himself in the lightweight division before calling out a fighter like him. He wrapped up the conversation with a jab at Toporia's potential matchup with Islam, referencing how people downplayed Islam's victory over Alex Volkanovski by saying, "Oh well, he just beat a 145er. Balal pointed out that if Toporia fights Islam and loses, the narrative will likely be the same. It's going to be the same story. The tension between Balal Muhammad and Ilia Taporia is only heating up, and it seems like Balal is ready to take this beef all the way to the cage if Taporia keeps it going. What do you think? Should Taporia focus on proving himself in the lightweight division first, or is a showdown with Balal the next big thing? Next up, Paddy Pimblett versus Charles Oliveira. All signs are pointing toward Paddy Pimblett getting booked to fight one of the UFC's best lightweights, and it looks like Charles Oliveira might be the man he faces next. Bruce Buffer, the iconic UFC announcer, has weighed in on the potential matchup, saying that Oliveira is the likely opponent for Pimblett's next big fight. After Pimblett put on a dominant performance, battering and finishing Michael Chandler at UFC 314, the Baddy has skyrocketed to the number 8 spot in the lightweight division. With his growing popularity and massive fan following, it's expected that he will soon be booked against a top 5 contender. Oliveira, who has long been considered one of the best lightweights in the world, is at the forefront of those discussions. Pimblett himself has mentioned Oliveira as a potential opponent after his win over Chandler, fueling speculation about a showdown between the two. Bruce Buffer also weighed in on the matchup when speaking with TMZ Sports, adding fuel to the fire. Charles Oliveira is probably the one he'll be coming up against for sure. That's who I'm thinking about. Oliveira is great on the ground and standing up. Paddy is proving himself both on the ground and on the feet. They both have long limbs. It's going to be a brawl for it all if it happens. However, there's a bit of a catch in this potential fight. Oliveira has repeatedly stated that he's only interested in fighting for the UFC title. During an interview with Porto do Vale Tudo, Oliveira made it clear that his goal is to secure another title shot. "I don't run from anyone. I never have. If it's for the title, why not fight? But I'm looking for the title," Oliveira said. Given that Oliveira is coming off a loss to Arman Serukian and was recently defeated by Islam Makachev in 2022, it's possible that his hopes of a title fight could be delayed if he faces a fighter like Pimblett, who is not yet in the title picture. Pimblett, for his part, has made it clear that he's not planning to move down to featherweight. While discussing his future weight class on Buffer's podcast, Pimblett stated, "I wish I could make 145, but I see myself at welterweight in the future. When I get older, it's harder to cut weight. If there's a big match at 1700 and it sells PPVS, then yes." Given his tendency to bulk up between fights, it's hard to imagine Pimblett ever making the cut to 145 pounds again. In fact, after UFC 314, Pimblett humorously admitted, "On Sunday, I had 5 milkshakes after the fight. I woke up at 198 pounds. I'm fat, mate." So could we see Paddy Pimblett take on Charles Oliveira next? With both fighters' fighting styles and impressive resumes, this potential matchup would undoubtedly be an exciting brawl for the ages, but it remains to be seen whether Oliveira will pursue a title shot instead of taking on the rising star in Pimblett. Last story, Tom Aspinall teases fight news. The ongoing speculation about a potential fight between Tom Aspinall and Jon Jones has shifted into a believe it when I see it situation. At first, Jones made it clear that he wasn't interested in fighting Aspinall. However, the situation took a turn when Jones later hinted he would be open to the fight, but only if the UFC came up with some serious cash to make it worth his while. Since then, fans have been eagerly waiting for confirmation, but as April draws to a close, there's still no official word on the highly anticipated matchup. Despite the lack of official announcements, Aspinall has recently offered fans a glimmer of hope regarding the situation. In an intriguing post, he shared that he does have some inside knowledge, adding a touch of mystery to the mix. "I do know what's happening," Aspinall teased. "I've had meetings with the UFC. I've been sworn to secrecy, but news is coming very, very soon." With this statement, Aspinall left the door wide open for speculation, and fans are now wondering if the fight could happen this summer or if it might be pushed to the fall. Either way, it seems like there's something in the works, and it's just a matter of time before the details are revealed. The idea of a fight between Aspinall, the rising star of the heavyweight division, and Jones, the long-reigning champion, is a matchup that has intrigued fans and analysts alike. While waiting for official confirmation, Aspinall continues to keep the momentum going with his trademark humor and confidence. Recently, he posted a message on social media that kept the competitive fire burning. "The only juice you'll catch me on," Aspinall wrote, throwing shade in the direction of Jones, who has had a history of doping controversies. It's clear that Aspinall is not backing down from his pursuit of the fight, and he's ready to keep the banter going. On his podcast, when asked to describe Jon Jones in just a few words, Tom didn't hold back. With a straightforward response, he simply said, "Strange guy." The words added to the growing tension and anticipation surrounding the potential showdown. Aspinall's willingness to throw playful jabs at Jones shows that he's not just about the fight itself, but also about building the narrative leading up to it. So, the question remains, will we finally get to see Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall square off inside the octagon? As the news continues to simmer, fans are left eagerly awaiting any updates. Do you think this fight will materialize soon, or are we in for more waiting and uncertainty? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure. This matchup has the potential to be a major spectacle in the UFC's future. And finally, Arman Serukian explains why he believes Islam Makachev doesn't want to fight Ilia Taporia. Arman Serukian recently weighed in on the ongoing discussions surrounding Islam Makachev and the potential matchup with Ilia Taporia. Serukian, who is often candid in his opinions, suggested that Makachev might not be eager to take on Toporia, despite the rising star's dominance in the lightweight division. According to Arman, one of the main reasons Makachev may be avoiding the fight is due to the risk of further cementing his legacy as a fighter who has only defeated smaller competitors. "I think he left 145 for that reason," Serukian explained. "They promised him a title fight, but Islam said, 'I'm not fighting him,' because if he beats Toporia, people will say, 'Again? You beat a 145 RR?' This insight sheds light on a key aspect of the fight game that often gets overlooked: legacy. For Makachev, a fighter of his caliber and stature in the lightweight division, fighting someone who is coming up from a lower weight class could diminish his achievements, especially if people continue to view his victories as over smaller fighters. Serukian's point highlights the delicate balance between chasing title opportunities and protecting one's legacy. It's clear that for Makachev, the risk of facing someone like Toporia, who is considered to be a potential threat but still relatively new to the top of the lightweight division, might not be appealing from a legacy standpoint. Arman also took the opportunity to discuss his own position in the lightweight division, offering a bold statement regarding what it would take for Makachev to truly solidify his reign. According to Serukian, if Makachev defeats him, it would mark the final hurdle in the lightweight division. If Islam beats me, he's done in this division. He stated, "He's beaten everyone. He just needs to beat me." Arman's confidence is evident, and this comment sets up an intriguing dynamic in the lightweight division. If Makachev can get through Serukian, he would have essentially defeated the toughest challenges in his weight class, leaving little room for argument about his dominance. But the question remains, is that fight on the horizon? Are UFC officials going to step up and make this highly anticipated matchup a reality? As fans eagerly await confirmation, the focus shifts to what's next for both Makachev and Serukian. Will the contract finally come through? Will we see this highly anticipated battle for supremacy in the lightweight division? For now, it's all up in the air and we'll have to wait and see. What do you think? And will Makachev face Toporia first, or is Serukian the next logical step for the lightweight champion? Only time will tell.